A little bit of a delay there, but we're here, and thank you all for being here. Uh, it is always a pleasure to start my day with each and every one of you. And my little sunshine, right here, there she is, the Astro Weather cat. That's right. She's got her morning routine: eat, poop, lap. There it is. Life's easy. How is everybody today? Did anybody have a bit of a miracle yesterday? I have to say, I kind of did, actually. And it happened through one of the sessions that I was doing yesterday. And I'm working with this wonderful couple who are just extraordinary people. And I'm not going to get into the private details of the session, but I just got to tell you how everything lined up was pretty freaking amazing, I have to say. And just, you know, there are days when I do this and I'm like, wow, I get paid for this. I am really, really grateful. And it's not because I'm getting paid to talk to people. These are, in my world, they're very meaningful conversations. And they're as meaningful for me as they are, I think, hopefully for other people. So, and I'm just really grateful for that. And so that was my little miracle yesterday, was this session I had with this very, very cool couple. And they're part of my coaching program. So we just got going. It was actually very, very good connection. All right. So let's see. Who do we have here? Who's in the house? I did a few greets a little earlier. Some of the miracles are very simple. Being alive. Well, it's Thursday. We got to give a shout out to our man Thor at the door on Thursday. Right there. Claire, from me and my wee doggy pal. Diane Evans checking in. Hi, Diane. Diane's daughter is extraordinary. Good job, Diane. Very good job. Julia Payne, what's happening? Checking in from warm New Zealand. Josie's Jazzy Junk. Shattered a glass, but it didn't get cut. Hey, that's, on the sunny side of the street, isn't it? Let's see. Claire, I like that too. That's that following your purpose. Yeah, well, it took me a while to get here, but I'm here now. Let's see, who else do we have? We had a Dave Sullivan sighting. Michelle Renee. Hi, Michelle Renee. The great Devin Dewar is in the house. Saw her earlier. See, your miracle has been banned in municipal flat blogging. I can just imagine that on the comm. Miracles have been banned in municipal flat block 18A until further notice. There will be no more miracles. Repeat, no more miracles until further notice. SP Dimples, what's happening? Brandy Herrera, Lena Wickler. Look at this. Adora Inanna. Yes, my miracles. I signed up for ballroom waltz class tonight. Good for you. Good for you. Peas and butter from West Virginia. Rainbows and butterflies. Yes, if you'd like to sign up for a reading, you can go there right now. And yes, we do have a locals place where people meet and greet, and I do supply content. Jen Adams, greetings from icy, gross Brooklyn. Oh, poor Jen. Man, back in my New York days, I used to love going to Brooklyn. I had way too much fun in Brooklyn. This is back before it got completely gentrified. It was right on the cusp of gentrification. It was a very cool place. Now look at this. Julia, my miracle, 3 hours walk at the beach. Man, being at the beach is kind of a miracle. Good for you. Orlando's in the house. Orlando, I heard that your son is doing a little better. I hope that's true and I hope he keeps getting better. Kelly B is here. Hi, Kelly B. Oh, vicarious enjoy. Oh, Sigurd. You have to set up like a, I don't know, some sort of a organic satellite dish that is miracle receptive. We'll just beam them over to you. And then you set up that transfer system and you just like beam it back out to the rest of the folks in your quadrant. We'll do it that way. Tinfoil Tiara's here. Let's see. Maya Rose checking in. Christine. We have Maya Rose and Christine Mose. Mose and Rose. Mosey Rosie. Rosie Mosey. Let's see. Double B, Beth Berry. Scrubbies. What's up, Tamara? Christine Foose. I did get my blessing yesterday. Very grateful. Right on. Good. We got to carve out a little space. Right? We got to carve out a little space for the magic and the miracles to drop in. So I guess we got some good news on Orlando's front. The Jersey's in the house. Scott's checking in. Let's see. Harvest American Dreams. I don't know. Do you really want that? do you really want that? Harvesting American Dreams. That sounds like a line from an old Genesis song. I can hear Peter Gabriel. Harvesting American Dreams. All right. Enough of that. Moonsprout. The Dream Harvester. Prog. See, we're in the same boat, man. You went prog metal concept album, and I went Peter Gabriel. Harvesting American Dreams. Sigurd, I got to meet you one of these days. I got to meet you one of these days. We got the internet happening here. Michelle Renee, that's why I'm back. Everybody seems so engaged. Good. We're an engaging bunch. So is this Steve? Is this a Carlin? That sounds like a Carlin. That's a Carlin, isn't it? But still, nonetheless, I think it's really good. Rock People. I like Rock People. That's a great name. Yeah, that's a good quote. All right. When we get going with the weather here, I think we're all kind of warmed up. Everybody's got their coffee or their tea, or in my case, my supplemental coffee, also known as Zevia, right here. Cheers. Steve's always good. He's always good for the quippy retort. So is Rich. Rich on Sunday night has some good ones. I wanted to. So yesterday, right? I talked about the seismic stuff, and lo and behold, right here, things are happening. Shake, rattle, and roll in Greece, right? Yesterday, this is 1 day ago. So yesterday, they had a 5.3 earthquake. Rattle Santorini, people flee. So our gal Kanya, that's her part of the world. Oh, look at this. Israel readying for possibility it could face tsunami earthquakes in Greece. Wow. Getting biblical. You can see right here some of these earthquakes. So this was yesterday. There's that 5.1. That was at 1:08 p.m. And these things have been going off. Like, look at this. Oh my God. 5.1, 4.8, 4.9. Jeez. Yikes. There you go. There's your seismic tectonic action over the last couple of days. All right, why don't we get into the old weather here? Gaza gets flooded and needs immediate redevelopment. I'm going to tell. So, upon further review, there's a documentary series, and there's this English guy that narrates them, and he's got, I don't know who does them, but these are very good documentaries if you can find them on YouTube. There's I think a 2-part massive documentary series on Frank Zappa and the Mothers, and I like parts of Zappa. I don't like all of Zappa, but I find Zappa and the phenomena of Zappa interesting. And so there's this massive kind of 2-part documentary on Zappa. There's one on Little Feat and Lil George. I think there's one on Bob Dylan, and it's called Upon Further Review, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a number of like music critics. Chris Welch shows up. Barney Hoskins shows up. I really like Barney Hoskins. He's great. John, like clips of John Peel and things like that. So if you're into that sort of thing, go try to find those documentaries. I think Upon Further Review. I think that's what it's called. Okay, let's get into the weather. Here we go. We're off to a good start today. Look at that. I got the day right. I got the time right. Man, I'm cooking. I am cooking. All right, so yeah, look at this. The moon is in a bit of a different place now. It's in Gemini. Moon in Gemini. Chatty Gemini. Coming in here fast. By this evening, this moon is going to conjunct Jupiter. So you'll be able to see that. Right? You'll be able to see that in the night sky as the moon reaches its glowing effulgence, right? So yeah, right there and then right there, right? Moon, Jupiter direct. The lines of communication are open. Yeah, so today on 15 minutes, I'm going to revisit the Trump cast. I'm going to revisit the Trump cast from yesterday. And upon further review, which is where it all started, I think Trump is pulling a fast one here. I think he's pulling a fast one. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, this is a good aspect to talk about it with. We've got the sun at 18. Right, it's coming in, and we're getting a harder angle now. Right, with Uranus, very disruptive energies. Disruption isn't always a bad thing. It can be a good thing. It's not the best for routine. If you have a routine, I think you have to be creative with your routine. And if something comes up, you have to be able to navigate through it and, kind of surf the chaos. And the chaos is coming. The chaos is coming. What's really interesting as we look at this thing with Trump, I just saw this a little bit of news before the show started today, that in DC, the State Department is flying flags upside down, like as in distress. Like there's this distress that Trump and Musk are taking over the country from within. Now you can take this any way you want, especially with all this heavy Gemini action. It's like, okay, it's the State Department, it's Washington, D.C. That's like an entity unto itself. Right? We all know this, right? DC is an entity unto itself. It is not a state. It is like the Vatican or the City of London, right? It's got that same kind of carved out privilege, if you want to call it that. So now you have a number of people who are entrenched in the establishment, and they are freaking out, right? So this is, we got into this seismic activity yesterday. We talked about that. That's still in effect, by the way, right? Anytime you have Uranus and Taurus, and you have anything squaring off against it, right? When Mars finally goes direct, it's going to catch up and square Uranus. So anytime you get into these fixed angles, right, Uranus is going to be disrupted. It's going to be, again, I'll use the word seismic energy. Especially, I use seismic because we're dealing with Taurus and it's an Earth sign. So this is what we're dealing with right here. Right? Don't pay attention to the transits outside. Those mean nothing. They mean nothing. Just pay attention to what's going on in here. You're not seeing this. I did this yesterday. Well, I won't get into it. Aquarius is social, right? It's social. It is Aquarius is kind of the mesh, the bond that connects us all, brings us all together. That's the nature of Aquarius, right? And this is so. I just find this so fascinating, like what's going on. I was watching Jason Whitlock yesterday, and he has this little game show that he started in his show. It's like a show within a show, right? It's like at the end of a show, and the premise is that he has 3 people on the show, and you have to watch the show, and whoever answers the most questions correctly about things that Jason has talked about during the week wins like a tiny sliver of Bitcoin, right? A tiny sliver of Bitcoin. So the 3 people he had on the show were fascinating. And this is what I'm getting to a point here. He had a so-called Black woman from Oakland. Now, if you know Oakland, you understand the demographic. It is really like beyond liberal. Oakland is socialist. And there's a woman there, and she's on the show, and she's totally into Jason, and she's wearing a cap. Now, Jason was going off on Joy Taylor a couple of weeks ago and called her the woman with big cans and peanut butter skin. It became kind of this meme. Like there are all these memes that got set into motion. So this woman's on his show, and she's wearing a cap. And on the cap it says, big cans and peanut butter skin. And she kind of did have peanut butter skin. And so Jason noticed this, and he was laughing, right? So I'm painting a picture because she's breaking the stereotype of a so-called Black woman from Oakland. Okay, so she's there. There's a guy there who is a comedian, lives in Austin, who happens to be Black, right? I think he's been on Jason's show before. So he's a contestant. And the third guy is in Iran. And he is watching the show. And And he's been watching Jason going all the way back to his days when he was at Fox Sports. And he had the show Speak for Yourself. And Jason's blown away that this guy from Iran is on the show. And then he asks if he's Christian. And he says, no, I'm Muslim, but we believe in the same God. Now, this was interesting, right? Like, so for Muslims, there's Allah the Prophet, but Allah the Prophet speaks about God, right? And of course, the Christian version of Allah is Jesus, and we all know that. And so it was challenging Jason's beliefs, right? That he says, well, we share many similar beliefs. You know, for us, you know, the woman doesn't have sex before she's married, right? Well, they have a whole other thing, but I'm not going to talk about that. And we don't drink alcohol. You know, Christians drink alcohol, but if you don't, it's probably going to get you a little closer to heaven, right? So he's trying to have this kind of commonality, this moment of commonality with Jason. It was fascinating, right? So you have three people, one who's kind of close to Jason's demographic, but the so-called black woman from Oakland doesn't fit the demographic. And the guy is actually in Iran. He's never lived in the United States, and he follows Jason, well, religiously, right? So this is kind of what I'm talking about here with this Sun-Uranus square. It's like a systems buster. So Jason has to sit down and think, man, I had this guy from Iran on my show, and you know, he doesn't fit the Christian Jesus profile, but he's right there, and he's sharing like a broad set of values that I can agree with. It was very fascinating. And even this idea that there could be a black woman in Oakland who's not a screaming, raging LGBTQAI plus communist. That's busting the system. So this is what's happening now, right? Look at what's happening in DC with this USAID thing. That's busting the system. And USAID has, I remember the first time on one of my shows, it might have been around 2015. I got into the USAID rabbit hole, and I started to look at where the money was going. I'm like, holy shit, man, this is like an international slush fund that is really kind of a front for the CIA. This is where they get to disperse all their money. Like, it's been happening for a long time. And is, you know, I just thought, well, everybody knows this, right? So I never really went back and made a big deal out of the USAID stuff. It was good for like 2 days, 3 days worth of content. Well, they're breaking up the gang over at USAID, right? This is systems busting. This is what's happening. And I don't know if you've been following the Musk and Doge thing, but apparently now Hillary Clinton is not happy with Elon Musk, right? She's all of a sudden now starting to kick up her heels about Elon Musk. I'll tell you why. Because if they go into that world and they start to use these programs and bots and algorithms that they've created in order to unearth like where the money is and where it's been going, they're going to run into the Haiti stuff with Clinton. I tell you that right now. Like, they're going to run into government money getting funneled, maybe through USAID or another one of these channels, to the Clinton Foundation in Haiti. And Hillary Clinton is already setting up her defense. She knows she's going to get busted, right? She is going to get busted. So don't fret about this Sun-Uranus square, because it is all about system busting right now, and it's connected to money. It's tied to money, and we're not even at the peak of this Sun-Uranus square. You were 5 days out, so 5 days from now. What, it was Super Bowl Sunday? Man, Super Bowl Sunday, I get a weird vibe from Super Bowl Sunday. By the way, Trump is going to be at the Super Bowl. All I'm saying is JD Vance shouldn't be at the Super Bowl. I get a weird vibe from the Super Bowl. There's something really weird about it. You know, we're going into it with the Chiefs, Eagles, these strange flights, the air crash in Philadelphia, the crash of the American Eagle in Washington, D.C., where, of course, Trump is the commander-in-chief. There's a lot of really weird syncs going on. In New Orleans, the last time they had a Super Bowl there, I talked about it. I think maybe they had one after it, but the 2012 Super Bowl with the Ravens and the 49ers got really weird with Beyonce at halftime, and then the power goes off. Like, just weird shit happens in New Orleans, right? It's a supernatural town. So I don't know. I get weird vibes from the Super Bowl. You know, if there was an occasion to create more panic and hysteria, the Super Bowl would be. Look, I think ultimately things will be fine, right? But I do get weird vibes from it. So there can be strange shit happening in, around. Maybe they bust somebody, right, who's got some kind of Black Sunday kind of plan. We have this in conjunct today with Sun and Mars, which is interesting. Mars still moving backwards. We have 22 days before we hit station, and it goes direct again. So it's still a good time to, like, you know, repair and repair, replace, right? These are all synonymous with a retrograde, especially around your home. I got to call the septic guy today. Today's my day to call the septic guy. What else do we have? We got a Pluto moon trine. That's really interesting. Pluto moon trine. You know, when we get into moon in Gemini, so there's this whole concept of holding space, right? The moon in Gemini is holding two separate spaces, which some people can't do. Most people can't do. It's really, to me, it's really the challenge of the human experience. Can you hold more than one space? Can you occupy more than one space at one time? The moon in Gemini is like, well, okay, well, try it out. Right. And I'm not saying you should go bilocate or try that, but, you know, try it, like hold two positions. And Pluto is like an anchor here. Oh, wow. It reminds me, somebody texted me yesterday out of the blue. I have to reply to that text. Holding the space for two separate potentialities, realities, right? Like when you get into a Pluto moon trine, it's almost like the unshakable faith that you have in your offspring, right? Like if you're like a really good and dedicated parent, and even though you know your kid is a knucklehead, or the female version of whatever that is, right? The Pluto moon trine is like, you know what? I know they're a knucklehead, but I'm going to hold the space for the non-knucklehead part of them. Because I believe deeply, I'm committed deeply to this idea, this principle that if I do this, I'm going to be able to get out of this polarization and just, you know, oh, my kid's a knucklehead, right? And as parents, I think a lot of us have gone through that. And it's easy to get kind of stuck because you see the knucklehead pattern being repeated. And so what do you do with that, right? This is one of those days where, you know, with the moon Pluto trine, you can hold space for the potential of not being a knucklehead. Like, okay, I really believe in you. You don't really even have to say it, you just have to hold it. Or maybe if you want to say it, you can. We got to, you know, the Mercury is trine the moon. So if you want to communicate that, you can. Maybe the communication is helpful. So I like this part, right? The other thing too is I feel like if you just kind of look at this from a personal perspective in general, right? This is disruption, which we've already talked about. But there's an order here with these trines coming into the moon and Jupiter. So even though something may be disruptive, if you can hold the space that whatever the disruption is isn't necessarily bad, and just wait long enough and get on the other side of it, you don't have to wait long. You could wait to the end of the day. You could wait till tomorrow, right? Because the moon is going to come up here, it's going to jump in on Jupiter, and it's ultimately going to come in and trine the sun, right? So we have this really interesting transit of the moon where if you sort of just hang out and wait a little bit, you'll see that whatever is being disruptive, there's an order behind it. Because this is the nature of Gemini. Gemini is bicameral, right? It's neither necessarily good nor bad. So this is a very interesting, we'll call it 24-hour cycle, right? So what might appear or perhaps look like loss in some ways doesn't really end up that way. So if you go through something disruptive today and it kind of shakes you a little bit, hold on to the other side of that. Just say, okay, all right, I don't have enough information, or I'm willing to suspend my attachment. I'm willing to suspend my attachment to what's happening in the moment. Doesn't mean you don't care about it. Doesn't mean you don't respond to it. Like, take care of your business, but just, I'm willing to suspend my attachment to this, because within the next 24 hours, you may understand it from a different perspective. And this is kind of how this thing works in this domain, right? Like, sometimes there are things that are clear, they're black and white, and you get it, you understand it, boom, done. And there are other times where we have a rush to judgment, either inside of ourselves or inside of another person or with another person. And upon further review, as perhaps a small amount of time passes, we see that, oh, wow, yeah, okay, now I get it now, right? And I get it. And to me, this is always very humbling. It is very, very humbling, because in these moments, we realize we're not always in charge, and that even with whatever knowledge we've accumulated or whatever insights we've been able to accrue, we can't always see the big picture or know what's happening in the moment, because there's this chain of events that is still yet to be played out. And I think that's one of the things that we as humans can get better at, right? Because we can see here's the other thing. We can seize upon the moment when things are right and good and validate whatever kind of subjective reality we have in our lives. We can seize upon it and go, yes, see, I knew. Most people can. Sometimes there are people who can't do that because they don't trust themselves. That's a different discussion, right? But let's say that the majority of people, when presented with ontological data, that their inner world and their outer world are kind of matching up. They go, yeah. So most people are pretty good at that. What we're not really developed with is, well, let's step back here, give this thing like 24 hours and not be so quick to rush to judgment on it. And that's kind of where we are with this energy, you know, and I even think on a political level, because so much is happening, like this fucking blitzkrieg right now. And it's like, even today, like when I go back and look at the Trump Bibi thing, I'm like, man, I think Trump's got something up his sleeve, right? This is kind of like the 24 hours later. I went and I looked at that video again. I'm like, it's really weird. It's a weird video. And Netanyahu, at a certain point, looks like he's getting fucking pantsed by Trump. Anyway, this is I think the main gist of today's weather. You know, we still have our pantheon of Piscean planets Say that fast 3 times. And Saturn is coming right in here. Nice trine with Mars. Right. So I have been doing things around my house. I know it sounds trite, but I have been working on my bedroom and trying to organize it and get it to, like when I open the door, I'm like, man, I like my room. Right. So I've been actually doing that. And it's been good. This is your Saturn Mars trine. And again, Mars retrograde, like what needs attendance? Right? What needs attendance? What do you need to kind of redo? Right? So I've also been Pisceifying my house, at least my room. Okay. Venus right there, Aries. Do we still have the biquintile? Let's see what we got. Yeah. No. It's just come out of that biquintile. But it's still not really being activated. It is in that conjunction with Neptune, fire and ice. All right, let's get into our True Hemp Science star of the day. There we go. All right, so today is one of those days where you might be a little disrupted by our star of the day. Let me see, where is it? Today's True Hemp Science star of the day is Eva Braun. She loved animals. She loved dogs. She loved walking her dogs. Let's talk about True Hemp Science. Chris is going to love me for this. True Hemp Science is your one-stop shop for all things CBD. And if you go there and spend $100 or more, you type in 15 MINS and you will get a goodie bag, which is like an order within an order. Right? So it's a nice little thing that you get to unbox. Oh, what am I getting today? Right? It's your Whitman sampler. And if you spend $150 more, you get free shipping, and there's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. The CBD is sourced from organic hemp from start to finish, from, I guess, pink to tail. It is meticulously sourced and processed, so you're going to get the best stuff, right? And the gummies are worth the price of admission. So truehempscience.com, your one-stop shop for all things CBD. All right, let's take a look at Eva Braun. I had a few choices today, but I thought she was the most interesting, to be honest with you. So she is a Scorpio rising. She can handle that intensity, right? She's very domestic. Like she's got her sun right here, right? She's got her sun conjunct the IC. And when you read about Eva Braun, one of the things that you get is that she's kind of simple, right? Like she loves nature. She loves her dogs. She feeds the birds. Like she is the equivalent of a 1950s housewife. She just happens to be the mistress of Adolf Hitler, right? Which is, kind of a unique pairing. I believe she was his secretary, if I'm not mistaken. But she's very domestic, right? Now, there's some things about this chart that I find fascinating. And one of the things that really grabbed my attention is Pluto, right? Because Pluto in the 8th house. And there is this inconjunct, ... right there to Mercury, right? And then right there with Uranus. And what is this inconjunct about? Well, this is how I'm going to interpret it. I don't think Eva Braun died in the bunker. She didn't die in the bunker. Hitler didn't die in the bunker. They were able to get out of Germany And here's what happened. I've had Harry Cooper on my show. I should probably get him back on. He's a very interesting character. So they had, like, Hitler and his inner circle had left the war, probably about 8 months, somewhere between 6 to 8 months before it actually collapsed. And so what people saw at that time was Hitler's double, right? Hitler's double. And so Hitler, Eva Braun, Goebbels, right? These people wind up going to Spain. And there is a submarine / U-boat that takes them from Spain to Argentina, because Spain Franco had a close relationship with the Nazis and Hitler. And they also had a close relationship with Juan Perón. Perón was Franco's big trading partner in Argentina. So they shuttle off to Argentina. And eventually Hitler moves around and matriculates. There's a number of stories of Hitler being in the United States, by the way, not just Latin America. So, and also there's, this story that he had a daughter as well, right? Very interesting shit. And I think this inconjunct is this Pluto action, right? Mercury is travel. Uranus is, well, we're gonna deke you here. You're gonna think she's dead, but no, she's actually taking a submarine to Argentina. Her true node is in Aries, right? True node in Aries, 6th house. So she's in service to the Aryan cause, right? It's very fascinating, right? Literally in service. She was the secretary to the sort of the top of the pyramid of the Aryan cause. This is fascinating. I hope you think it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating. She's got Jupiter and Sagittarius in the 2nd house, right? That's land, 2nd house in what? A foreign country. So I think she cut out. I think she cut out with Hitler, right? I think this Pluto inconjunct is the smoking gun right here. Now, you would know that if you know me, right, I try to understand what her relationship with Hitler was like. And so we're going to do that. She's got Saturn in Taurus in the 7th house. That is commitment, right? Accidental exaltation with Saturn here. Taurus, fixed sign. Like, hey, she's gonna stand by her man. Sun, Saturn square. Fixed. Not leaving. Like, if you want to go with the bunker story, that Sun Saturn square makes a nice little bow end for a bow for the bunker story. Over here, we're going to see the synastry chart for Eva and Adolf, AA, right? Okay, so here's Hitler's sun. Right, look, here's his Mercury. There's her true node. There's his sun. Eva, would you like to take some dictation? Yeah. Jawohl. That's easy, right? Eva, get out the pen and the paper. Jawohl. I don't know my German. But there's a connection here, right? Hitler's got Venus and Mars and Taurus. He's got that, Hitler's got that kind of unisex thing going on. I mean, seriously, when you look at Hitler, he looks there's a little feminine in Hitler, right? He's only got one nut, so he's halfway there, right? He's kind of halfway there. This is what happens when you get the Venus-Mars conjunction. You get the masculine, you get the feminine. But look where it is, right in there with her Saturn. Right, Venus-Saturn conjunctions in a chart, synastry chart, kind of hard to move off of them. Right, so here's the commitment right there. Now, I don't think they were married unless they got married in Argentina or Brazil, which might have happened. But they did certainly have a commitment. Pluto Mars, if you want to go with the bunker story, you could roll with that with Pluto Mars. His Pluto in her 8th house. I don't think the bunker story is the real story. I think that was Hitler's double. My 2 cents, right? Because look, Pluto and Gemini, right there, right there. So there's two. There's two Hitlers. And 8th house in the bunker. In the bunker. Okay, Jupiter Moon conjunction with her Venus. Oh, she's going to feel right at home. South Node. Yeah, maybe a little bit of past life connection there as well. Very powerful though, right? Jupiter Moon conjunct Venus. Venus Mars conjunct Saturn. Like in synastry, these are things that you would look at and say, wow. Eva, I think you have potential with this man. I think you have potential. I think there's long-term commitment with this fellow. Tell me about his goals. What are his goals? Oh, interesting. All right. Well, at least he's focused. You got to give him that. And even the sun here, moving up and like getting very close to the descendant. Again, kind of a key thing for relationship. Now, this is why I think they had a baby together. Because Hitler's Juno is conjunct her moon. The moon is the mother and Juno's fertility. So I think they had a baby. Right? That's my sense right here. And that's the rumor that there was like some people said it was Merkel. I don't know if it's Merkel or not. But didn't they just bring Merkel out of dry storage? Cold storage. Yeah, this is an interesting chart. Like, I get it. Right? Was he easy to be around? No, not always. Not always. Not with the sun's Mercury square to her Mercury Uranus. You know, sometimes he could be a tempest in a storm. Right? But with Mercury Uranus conjunction, she might be able to handle it. And look, I think if you're going to have Adolf Hitler as your partner, it would help if you're an Aquarian. Because Aquarians are like, he's not a bad guy. He's a good dude. He's just misunderstood. That's all. He's just misunderstood. That's an Aquarian. It's an Aquarian space. He's holding that space. He's just misunderstood. Eva, take a note. Yeah. Sun-Saturn opposition. That's interesting. Like she's following the lead of his Saturn. And his Saturn is in her 9th house. Right? Even the 9th house with Neptune here. You know, watery travel, right? Submersible. And Saturn kind of dominates her chart. His Saturn dominates her chart. Her sun is in the service of his Saturn. He has Saturn in Leo. You know, he had to make some difficult decisions. And it's tough with Saturn in Leo. Right? It's hard love. It's tough love. Saturn square. I don't think she was a wallflower all the time, though. I think there were times where she could probably speak her mind, and he would be open to it. You're going to get that with the Saturn square. As a couple, they would face obstacles and clearly have to grow together, right? Or the relationship would not work. And fixed sign, they're going to hang in there all the way to the very end, even though the very end may not have been the very end that we have been given. I got to get Harry Cooper back on my show. I bet you didn't think we'd be talking about Hitler's relationship with Eva Braun today. That's a very kind of, Sun, Uranus square moment. Oh, Robert, you're being very disruptive. How many other astrologers are you going to tune into today? They're going to talk about Eva Braun and her relationship with Adolf Hitler and dig into the astrology around it. Probably not too many. You could say you were here for it, or maybe not. Maybe you don't want to say that. All right. I think that brings us to the end of today's show as we end a bit early. Let's see. What do we have here? I want to see some of your comments around this. Oh, Julie Sunshine's in the house. She might appreciate this. Let's see. My dad is Hitler's birthday. Definitely a dictatorial placement. Well, the Hitler reel is not likely the Hitler advertised. Only Ava knows. That's true. That's true. Ava always understood that he was misunderstood. That was clear. Right? That was clear. Let's see. Grant's here. Hey, Grant. I was there, man. Funny. Aquarius men, when in love, are awesome, but until they love, they cheat. Ooh. I've never been in love with an Aquarian man, so I don't know how that works. All right. We're out of here. Have yourselves an absolutely blessed day. Treat each other well. Love to you all. Signing off. Bye for now. Come join us over in 15 minutes. Take care. Oh, don't forget to like and don't forget to hit subscribe if you like this content. So in the bell, you do the bell, you get reminded of the show when it goes live. It's that easy. All right. Bye for now.